Hello everybody, welcome to another sewing tutorial. A couple years ago I was in LA, and when I'm there I usually try to go to the fabric district or the wholesale district. So I got a piece of this tie-dye jersey fabric or knit fabric, and a couple weeks ago I finally made use of it, and I made this like cozy little top out of it. It's super soft. I like the color scheme of it. And I was thinking a good pairing for this top would be a pair of shorts. So as sort of a pattern for these shorts, I'm going to use these old pajama shorts, and I'm going to see if there's enough fabric left over to squeeze out those kind of shorts out of it. All right, let's unfold this fabric and see what we can get out of it. I folded my pajama shorts with the butt side facing outwards, and then I placed them on top of my unfolded piece of fabric in such a way that maximizes my use of the fabric, so that I could get 4 pieces of this size out of this fabric, and also leave a little bit for the waistband. I traced around the shorts with my chalk marker, leaving a little bit of a seam allowance on all sides and leaving a little bit for the hem on the bottom of the shorts. And I cut out my traced piece. Then I used that piece as a pattern for the second half of the butt. I put it onto the fabric such that the right side of the pattern piece faces the right side of the fabric, essentially making 2 mirror images of the butt piece. Enantiomers. If you know, you know. Then after I cut that out, I moved on to making the front pieces. So I folded my shorts the other way such that the front side of the shorts is facing outward. And because the length of the front and the butt pieces have to match at the hip, I used one of my butt pieces to determine the length of the front piece at the hip side. Then I started tracing around the front piece, and then I guess I just kind of was like, F it, I'm just gonna start cutting. So I made sure to cut the length of the hip exactly where I had marked, but for the center length, I kind of just estimated how far up from the crotch it should go. Then just as I did with the butt piece, I used this cutout front piece as a pattern for the second front piece, and again, making 2 mirror images of it. Now with the 4 pieces cut out, I used my serger machine to sew together the 2 front pieces at the center, and I also sewed together the 2 butt pieces from the center down to the crotch with my serger machine. Next, I prepared to sew the 2 halves together by first aligning them along the sides, inside out. I placed a couple of pins here and there to keep them together, and as usual, I used the serger to sew them together. Now it's crotch. Now it's crotch time. Nothing complicated here, just pin the crotch shut and serge. Onward to the waistband. I had a choice between thin and thick elastic for the waistband, and I went with a thick one. Thick, with 2 C's. So I folded over the longest segment of this fabric that I had left over in half, and I aligned the waist of my shorts to this folded fabric. And the length of the waistband that I'm going to cut is going to be identical to the waist of the shorts. And the height of the waistband of this fabric that I'm going to cut out is going to be determined by the thickness of my elastic with a little bit of seam allowance on both sides. After I finish cutting it out, I'm going to serge the 2 edges so that they don't fray. Is it more proper to say overlock than serge? I don't know. Then after I overlock those 2 edges, I'm going to sew them together with a straight stitch using my sewing machine. Then afterwards, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to press these 2 flat. Now I need to align this waistband to the waistband. Now I'm going to align this waistband to the waist of the shorts, and I'm going to put the seam onto the back of the shorts. And I'm going to align the seam of the waistband with the middle seam on the back of the shorts. And I'm going to align the seam of the waistband with the seam of the back of the shorts. And I'm first just going to pin 2 pins halfway, then I'm going to fold it and pin another 2 pins halfway, and then I'm going to put some pins throughout. And then again, as usual, I'm just gonna use my serger to serge this seam. And honestly, I could have just made the shorts higher by that height of the waistband, and I wouldn't have had to add this waistband. Live and learn. Well, they are starting to look like shorts. This outfit is so ridiculous. Like, what? The colors are so wild. I mean, this is just essentially a pajama outfit. Like, whatever. This is my at-home outfit. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is I need to add an elastic to the waist. And the elastic length is going to be determined by the size of my waist, not by the size of the waist of the shorts, because the waist of the shorts is like a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like wrap the elastic around my waist and determine where I'm going to cut it. Then I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to stitch it together, and then I'm going to like add it to the shorts and close it all up. Then I proceeded to suck in my stomach to determine how much elastic I'm going to need. And once I was confident that I could live up to this narrow waist, I marked the length of the elastic with my chalk marker, leaving a little bit of a seam allowance. I cut the elastic and I closed it into a loop, and then I used a zigzag stitch to attach the two ends together. Whenever I'm closing elastics, I usually stitch like an entire rectangle around the area where I'm closing the two ends, just to like really make sure that it stays together. Now I'm connecting the elastic to the waistband, and essentially I just kind of like slipped the elastic into the shorts about like 1/2 centimeter into the waistband. And I'm doing that same method where I pin 4 pins at the quarters of the waistband. So I like fold it in half, put in 2 pins, then fold it in the other half, put in 2 pins, and then just like stick a couple pins throughout. And once pinned, I'm going to use the zigzag stitch on my sewing machine to attach the elastic to the top of the waistband. And this was a bit of a challenge because I had to like stretch as I was sewing a little bit because the elastic was a little bit narrower than the waistband of the shorts. Now that the elastic is attached to the waistband, I'm going to tuck it underneath and sort of create the finished waistband. And once it's folded over, I'm just gonna, again, stick some pins throughout just to kind of keep it in place so I could sew it down. And while I was at it, I figured I would prepare to hem the bottom of the shorts as well. So I'm folding over about 1 centimeter at the hem and pinning it down so that I could then use the cover stitch machine to sew it down. I first hemmed the pant legs or the short legs, and I used the double needle setting here so that I could get an overlocking on the reverse side. But then for the waistband, I'm just going to use a single needle, and that's going to give me a stretchy chain stitch. And finally wrapping it up with 2 chain stitches along the waistband. So I did 1 line of chain stitches along the bottom of the waistband, and I also added 1 on top of the waistband. And of course, whenever you're done with the cover stitch machine, you always got to tie the loose ends. And now the reveal. Okay, so I think they turned out pretty well. I'm fairly happy with them, given how little effort and little fabric I used to make these. I think this is a win. You know, the colors of the outfit are like a little wild, but I don't know, for chilling at home, this is pretty nice. Like, I feel cozy. I feel happy wearing this. So yeah, if you have a tiny piece of stretch fabric, you can make shorts out of it. Thank you guys so much for watching another one of my creative endeavors. I'll be back in a couple weeks with another sewing tutorial. I'll see you then. Bye.